What is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to the Last Flight Show. I'm your host, Jake Klein. Joining me today is Matt Hicks. He's back.
I'm back.
If you watched the last show, we had Zane on here in the King's chair, but the King is back.
Which I've always been here. You just wanted to do it a couple days early, which is good.
Well, yeah, that's true. Because normally if I'd have done it normal time, you would have been here. But because we went on vacation, we had to make other plans. So
was vacation good?
Vacation was good.
Yeah.
Little cold for beach time.
Where'd you go?
We went to Wilmington, North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Mom lives not on the beach, but she lives about 5 miles away from the beach or so.
Oh, okay.
So it is about 72 degrees.
Yeah.
And
within walking distance.
Cloudy. Definitely not walking that far. It's like it's 5 miles, but it takes a half an hour to get there because of all the traffic.
Yeah.
But cloudy, and I mean the ocean was not as warm as but the kids loved it.
That's kind of how it is there.
Yeah. So, but the drinks were cold, and we still had a good time. So
that's good. Yeah, it's always nice to get away.
Yeah, for sure.
So baseball's over, and
baseball's over.
Turkey's over.
Yeah, there's really nothing going on outside of what we're doing right here, right now. I'm working.
Doing this podcast, working in the shop.
Yeah.
Coming out with new things.
This is the opportunity and the time where we kind of catch up on things that we've kind of let go throughout, turkey season. And
clean up the shop, come up with new ideas,
and
just kind of take a look at what's going on.
Yeah.
Because it just seems like you just run routine day by day, and you just get, you know what I mean? You just forget about things and get worn down. And
well, really, because we went from waterfowl season, then it goes out, and then you get show season that comes in right after that.
There's no break.
There's no break, and then turkey season.
Yeah.
And then
with the pot call this year, there's absolutely been no break.
Yeah.
whatsoever. Like there really hasn't.
Right.
So, right now, this point forward until August again, these next 2 months, it's going to be nice. But, once June starts, you get past Memorial Day, the waterfowl sales start picking back up. And start seeing an uptick there. So we'll start getting busier as we get closer to the fall. And then once 4th of July is over, that's like another step in the right direction. Things are just, 4th of July is the last holiday, and then people are thinking about,
right.
Your local blind draws are going on.
Yep.
You can buy your waterfowl, your federal stamps, you can get your hunt license, everything. Everyone's getting geared up.
Yep.
So it'll get busier sooner than later. So, but it's good to just kind of
not much of a break, but you got to take advantage of it when it comes.
Yeah, definitely nice.
All right. Well, on this episode, we're going to
we're skipping the duck.
Yes,
duck's not doing nothing.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on.
To a new
Honestly,
pasture.
None of them are doing anything right now.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm sure that's kind of normal. I would say probably maybe at this time of year.
I think they relocated the goat to a pasture like 150 miles away because that's what's going on.
Yeah. Farmer took him and took the GPS off of him. He ain't moved.
That'd be hilarious if somebody stuck on like somebody's truck and it's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyhow.
So we're going to go over something pretty special that we're going to start doing on the show, and I'm going to hand it over to Matt here in a second, let him talk about that. But after that, we're going to talk about Matt's most iconic shots. And there's a lot of images on Matt's social media that have been used all over the place, but he's got a couple that he's going to share that is his favorite, and then maybe some of the editor's favorite, just kind of the differences and
kind of what they liked, and go over the settings on what they liked. I mean, we've got some pretty cool ones. Got a couple different covers here. Got a Delta cover that we can talk about, gun dog cover, and a DU table of contents shot. And then my favorites, and then I mean, just like the Delta cover, we'll put the image up here, and then we'll go over the settings and how I got the shot.
Yeah.
And some of them are candid, and some of them are staged. Some are out of a pickup truck. So it's a whole slew of what, you know what I mean?
Yep.
It's not just I don't, you know what I mean? It's all over the board on different things with these photos. So,
one of the subtopics for the iconic shots, is element of surprise or planned opportunities.
Yeah.
And that kind of falls in that ballpark. But Like I said, we're going to start something new, pretty special. And Matt, you kind of want to go over that and talk about what's going on with that?
So we're going to start doing what I call is the verse of the week. And basically I'm just going to pick, Bible verses that that I think resonate well with many people, the broad range of folks, or ones I just like, and kind of the reason I'm doing this is because, I grew up going to church my whole life and stuff. You go every Sunday and, you go in Sunday and it's awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're on top of the world and Sunday's a great day. And then alarm clock goes off Monday morning and you just forget about everything you just, went through on Sunday. And it's just like, and that's, I'm doing the verse of the week and we're releasing it on Monday, it's kind of for myself in a way, but I know other people, if it helps me, I know it's helping others.
Right. Yeah.
And, I'm going to do it on Monday, every Monday is my goal.
Yeah.
And, it might get tricky when hunting season comes back in. That's easier these next 2 months, but hunting season comes back in. I don't know. It's going to be hard, but we're going to stay after it. And, like I said, Monday, because we need that reminder of, of Jesus and everything in our lives versus just going back to your old stupid self, worrying about overthinking, over worrying, worried about stupid stuff, gossiping, just negative energy. More or less. You know what I mean? So. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people get kind of stuck in that rut,
You do. You get stuck in routine, you get comfortable. It's been a problem for me for 31 years.
Yeah.
My whole life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, I don't know, the older you get, the more your eyes open and, you get kids and I don't know, things just change.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just get more wise, I guess, as you get older.
Well, I tell you, I've always been a believer, always. But it wasn't up until probably the last couple of months. Actually, no, it had been a year. It had been the morning that Justin killed his turkey last year, actually. And we started going to their church, because we had the time, right? We'd kill the turkey off the roost, and we had time to make it to church. And Justin and his wife Ashley, they've been pretty big into the church now, and so it was an opportunity for go, and I loved it. Ashley, I used to go all the time as a kid. Yeah, I never did.
Sure.
I just never. My family never did. Like I said, we've always been believers, but we've never actually gone to church, and it's something that we definitely enjoy doing now.
Right.
Obviously with turkey season and stuff like that, it's hard to get out on Sundays and get to church and things like that. Luckily for us, though, we do have our church offers the live. And so we can watch
Stream
that
it.
and do that kind of stuff. And but yeah, so when Matt brought up this idea to me, I was all about it. And I think it's going to be a really cool idea. I'll let you pick back up with what you got going on over there.
Yeah, so basically every week, verse of the week, and we're going to do it on the podcast as well. And kind of on the podcast, we'll say the verse and then just kind of break it down and kind of dissect it. I'm reading out the NLT because I just think it's easier for newer folks, or just a little bit easier to understand. There's not as much biblical or like old jargon. I don't even know what the word is. You know what I mean though? Like words that you just are like, I don't even know what that means.
Yes.
Or it's just like worded weird.
Yes.
We need stuff that resonates well with people. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But you also can't forget the message behind it.
Right.
You can't translate it differently than what it actually is supposed to mean. But I like the wording better. But anyways, this next week here, well, I guess this is probably going to go out Monday anyways, but this week's verse of the week is 1 John chapter 1, verse 7, and it reads, "But if we are living in the light, as God is in the light, then we have fellowship with each other, and the blood of Jesus, his son, cleanses us from all sin." And, I don't know, I was literally just Google like Bible verses, like, I want some cool ones, you know what I mean? And the Bible's this thick. I don't know. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I gotta Google it.
Yeah, for sure.
But just to kind of break that down, if you get the first part of it, if we walk in the light as he is in the light, really just, it's pretty simple. Basically what that means is to live in truth, honesty, and obedience to God. reflect his character. We are an image of him.
Right.
He created us in his image. And I mean, now that doesn't mean you got to go out and be perfect.
Right.
We aren't designed that way.
Right.
We're in a world of sin, and you're not going to go out and be perfect. But what you can do is be intentional living in alignment with God's truth. And, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
You will fall, you will fail. But as long as you're being intentional and living, the way God, intended,
right.
in obedience to him, that's what that first part is about. And with that brings on point number 2. You get to the middle of this, we have fellowship with one another. When you live in the light and walk that out, people kind of gravitate towards that.
Yeah, yeah.
Subconsciously in a way sometimes too. They don't even realize it almost. But I mean, I've always been drawn to people, like my grandfather comes to mind. You're just drawn to the way, how do you do this? Like, how are you it's so hard just to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Shilling's calling.
Shilling.
Cancel.
You're too late, bud.
It's just so hard to do the right thing. I'm like, why is it so hard? So it's like, so you're just drawn to people that can just, I don't know, do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. He didn't get the message the first time.
Right. But anyways, that brings in community, and with that, brings in, you might be able to help somebody, break down their barriers, their walls, whatever they're dealing with. And, and then that brings on the third part, and the blood of Jesus, his son, cleanses us from all sins. And Jesus' sacrifice cleanses us, not just, one time you get saved, but continually, because you will fall. It's going to go like this, but as long as that keeps going like that,
right.
You'll be all right. Just keep, just stay after it, and you'll be all right, because he will save you continually.
Yeah.
As long as you're seeking it.
Yeah.
And, and it's a daily thing, like, man, you almost got to repent daily, because there's,
yeah, I know. Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm not perfect. I'm so at fault for all this myself, but we do stupid things every day. And it's just like, why did I say that?
Right.
It's just like, I don't know. But anyways, like I said, I think, this is going to help me, so I know it's going to help others.
Right. Yeah.
And, I don't know. Just trying to be more intentional with my life and, the path I'm going down. So.
Yeah. And it's nice to be able to share that with other people too.
Yeah.
Being on your drive to work Monday morning, you turn on the Last Flight show, the first thing you're going to hear is something that you need to hear.
This is probably going to catch a lot of people off guard.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
I think I caught a lot of people off guard this week. Really. I deleted Snapchat, and everyone now knows I'm alive.
Oh my gosh, man. I didn't know what was going on. So, okay.
So, yeah. It's just really Snapchat for me has just been a distraction, because I can live on that thing, and I mean, it's fun. Make a lot of fun videos, but I spend a lot of time just screwing off.
Yeah.
When I could be doing this or spending time with my family or kids.
Yeah.
Not that was necessarily really neglected, but I don't know. I don't need it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's just my own struggle. Like Zach has Snapchat. He just don't even reply, so he don't have that problem. You know what I mean? Everyone's got their own thing. So
yeah, I have a problem with honestly, I don't know if it weren't for you, Zach, probably Shilling, PJ, and my wife, I probably wouldn't have Snapchat either. I mean, I have Snapchat Justin and everything, but anyway.
And with the verse of the week, we're going to be putting out 3 calls, and which is, I think, is a great opportunity, because the more I thought about it, the more we did the Easter calls this year again, and man, nothing but great feedback.
Yeah.
And some of the most same feedback I got was, this is great. I'm gonna carry it in a blind, and it's just good blind talk.
Yeah.
That might change somebody's life forever.
Right.
So we're going to do 3, and they're going to be numbered 1 out of 3, 2 out of 3, and 3 out of 3. So they're going to be really cool, limited, exclusive, and rare type deal. But also, a great, because nobody carries anything like that with them in the blind.
Well, that just kind of,
They don't.
I'll be honest with you, it gave me kind of chills for a second, because just that line of blind talk that may change someone's life forever. Like, how many times has someone been in the woods with someone and a conversation like that has come up?
Yeah.
And it has changed people's lives.
There's no better place than in the woods.
Dude, that's crazy.
Or in the blind, honestly.
That was, I just like got chills all. It's not things you think about, right?
You don't think about.
And it happens all the time, has to.
And you'll be blind to it. Once you start opening your eyes to God, He will open your eyes to Him Himself too. And you'll I don't know. The last few weeks have been just clarity. My eyes have just been open so much. But, verse of the week, every week.
Yep, and we'll start every episode with a new verse, and kind of do the same thing that Matt just did there, and then like you said, the calls. We're going to have some of those coming out, and more details on those to come.
Yeah, they're going to be pretty. The first ones are pretty sweet. They're actually on the website. Well, it's probably going to be live Monday, so you better go get them. They're probably going to be gone if you're listening to this and not checking out.
Yeah.
But, I'd like, out of all the Easter calls we sold between last year and this year, I've only had 2 negative comments of people, of course you'd be making money off Jesus' name, whatever. And it's, it's like, you can't buy a Bible. You can't build a church without somebody making money. It's not about the money. It's 3 calls a week. $450. It's not.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's not.
And to people,
it's not like we're selling thousands of them and just, I'm using it for that. It's totally not that. And I think if you listen to this, you will get that.
Yeah.
But only a couple people have said that, and somebody's paying for that church and profiting from it, and the same with buying a Bible. Otherwise, they can't make them. You know what I mean? Like that's just the way it is. To make these duck calls, it's the same thing. Like it's so hard to make them for free. Like you can't just make everything for free, and you know what I mean? Like so, but it's been good. It's been good nonetheless. So
for sure.
You always have that, anyways.
And that it doesn't.
That's just the world.
Anything.
Yeah, that's just the world.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Exactly.
But pretty cool deal.
All right. Well, do you have anything else you want to add before we take a quick break and then get back into the show here?
No, let's get to it. It's gonna be a fun one.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the Last Flight Show, brought to you by Last Flight Calls and Gear. This episode starts now.
All right, guys, welcome back. This episode is going to be primarily about Matt's iconic shots. So, before
I tried to get Jake to throw his in the ring, and he wouldn't do it. So he don't want you guys to know his secrets, I guess. I don't know what the deal is.
So maybe we'll do another episode, in the future.
Jake shots.
Yes. But we actually had planned to do a different podcast today. So we really weren't prepared for what we're doing now.
This one's been in the back of our minds.
It has been. This has been like a backup type deal. We've talked about it many, many times of having this conversation. And it kind of separates itself from, other, wildlife photography or just photography in general. This is specifying the images that are most iconic to you, maybe most iconic to an editor or whatever it might be. You always have that picture, and you'll have as a photographer, whether it be wildlife or nature or just the outdoor lifestyle, you always have that picture that you take and you're like, that's the best picture I've ever taken, or that's my favorite picture ever, and that may change, over the course of the years. Or you
have that, and it's like somebody's gonna pick this up, and they never pick it up.
Right.
Magazine never picks it up. It's like, dude, what?
Yeah.
Like, you pick up my other stuff, but like this one that I like, dude, like,
yeah,
it's so cool. And they don't.
Right.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
Like the editor mind versus, your mind is totally different.
Yes. So before we get into, all of Matt's stuff, the one thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit is the topic of trial and error makes you a better producer. And that is within photography, videography, things like that. We didn't pick up a camera and then just go out and shoot cover photos.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
that's been my whole life is trial and error when I'm learning anything.
Yeah.
So like picking up a camera, only reason I'm good with the camera is because I've been through the trial and error.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, yeah, you know what I mean?
Anybody that picks up a camera and thinks that they're going to go out and we've had this conversation on a podcast before, but anybody that picks up a camera and thinks that they're going to go out and shoot an image that's going to end up on a front cover is going to be sadly, broken down, because it's unless you get extremely lucky. I mean, it takes a while to really understand what you're doing.
And I think one thing people do to shoot themselves in the foot is they go out for the first time, take a bunch of pictures, and they start reaching out to magazines like, hey, you need this, you want this, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
And they're like, no. But your first encounter with them was honestly negative because it wasn't good stuff. Like your first isn't going to be good. Like, sorry, but it ain't.
Yes.
Versus if you just waited a couple years, really honed in on your skill.
Yes.
And
build your portfolio.
And then you approach them with the portfolio and saying, hey, look what I can do. Look what I can create.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in any of this?
Yes.
Right there, now you have a positive energy with them versus, it's all about that first impression too. And, if you come at them and it's the first picture you took and it's terrible,
right?
You didn't even edit it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's the way it was back then,
right?
5 years ago.
Yeah.
not back then, you know what I mean? But
yes,
I'm talking like 30 years ago. But, it's all about that first impression, and don't shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, and I know, and we've talked about before, not working for free and don't doing all that kind of stuff for free. But in reality, I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole yet. In reality, when you first start, you can't expect to go out and do the paid work, right? You have to understand what you're doing. You have to know before you even do the shoot what you're going to do. Your composition, your settings. You have to know all of that before you even do the shoot. And so going out and, maybe contacting, subjects. If you know that, this person goes out and does a lot of upland hunting, or this person goes out and does a lot of waterfowl or whitetail or turkey, whatever, if you're in the outdoor lifestyle style of photography, but you need to do like, hey, do you mind if I come tag along and take photos of you? And then I'm more than happy to give you those photos. Like you can't go into it saying, hey, I'll come photograph you if you pay me, let's say $200 for an hour and a half of shooting.
Right.
Because they have no clue what they're getting.
Right.
And realistically, nobody's going to say, yeah, that's fine, that's cool, because you have nothing to show for it.
Right.
Now, if you go out and you take the first, let's say, year or two of photographing, or until you're confident that you have a built portfolio that you can present to, the clients and says, this is what I've done in the past. Like, this is what I'm capable of doing. If you want my services, this is what it's going to cost you to get this kind of images. Once you've reached that professionalism, then at that point,
people respect you more that way as well.
Yes, and you're going to see a lot more people reach out to you. Like there will come a time where your days of reaching out to clients is over.
They'll be coming to you.
Exactly.
Right.
And so the more that you do that, then the more that you can build your Facebook, your social media, stuff like that, more people are going to see it. But you've got to be willing to fail, right? You've got to be willing to...
One of the things I kind of tell people is when it's good enough, they will come. When they come to you asking,
yes,
that's when okay, I've got something. I'm at that point now. I can reach out.
Yes.
If they're knocking on your door, you're doing it right. Like you're doing something right. Like because they want what you're doing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? If they're not reaching out yet, keep working. I guess.
Yeah.
But some of that too is also exposure. But so it's hard too. On the other hand, to where you tell people that just sit on it. Just sit and wait. But you can't wait around forever either.
Right.
So there's like that double-edged deal where maybe you do need to reach out.
Yeah. And like you and I were talking about earlier too, like you've got to be willing to, first off, you've got to have a passion for it, right? You've got to be in a mindset of, I would rather pick up a camera than a shotgun, or I would rather pick up a camera and take a camera than a bow, or whatever it might be, because there's going to be times to where you're not going to have clients. You're not going to have people to reach out to and say, hey, can I come photograph you? Like, you have to take advantage of, if you go hunting with a buddy, or if you go hunting with a family member, or whatever it is, like, you have got to be dedicated to taking that camera and getting those shots to even start your portfolio.
I mean, and one thing, if say you've been doing it for 2 years and you got this portfolio and you like all these cool shots, make a printout. It can just be like a single page folded in half.
Yeah.
Nice though.
Yeah.
Right. Reach out to a printer and get something nice and go to a waterfowl show.
Yeah.
Put your business card in it and say, hey, this is what I can do for you.
Yep.
You don't need to put prices on there yet. Just let them contact you, and then you can have that conversation behind those closed doors. But you can go out to all these companies and be like, here's what I can do for you. Here's my work.
Yep.
Here's my business card. They get to meet you before they work with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sit and talk to them for 5-10 minutes. You know what I mean? And you're going to get a lot of good things out of that. A lot of good networking and stuff. It's just like Jake with the recoil deal. Recoil. I was doing stuff for them, but I'm kind of pretty much waterfowl.
Yeah. Yep.
And he asked me, he's like, hey man, like, I need some upland stuff. Do you got any? I was like, man, I don't really do that, but I got this buddy. Networking. If Jake wasn't good at the upland dog stuff,
right,
I would have never said anything, because I'm not going to steer recoil the wrong way.
Right. But
Jake's proven that he can do it, right? So I said, you need to call Jake.
Yeah.
And they worked up a deal.
And I guarantee
the next day or whatever.
I guarantee
you know
the first thing he did was went to my social media.
Definitely. And see, let's see what this guy's up to.
Right. Yeah. Well, that and any like person that you recommend, he's probably going to be like, okay, yeah, that's good to you. But
exactly.
Actually, he's turned out to be one of my best was relationships. You know what I mean? And that's, I said I wasn't going to go down this rabbit hole, and I really don't want to try.
And he's got the mindset too. He's going to pay you.
Well, yes, but and it's not that, just that. I mean, he's got the mindset of it's a 50-50 deal, right? It's a partnership. It's a relationship. It's I'm going to take care of you, and you're going to take care of me type of deal.
Yep.
And then it works so much better. I mean, shit, we'll talk on the phone just about random stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether it be cameras, whether it be vests or whatever, but I definitely owe you big time for that relationship. But
well, it's just the networking deal. Like he's gonna be real interested in you because you're getting recommended by me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Right,
So he's gonna be like, Jake's solid too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So the networking stuff goes a long, long way.
Yeah, in
a world of a flooded industry of
right.
I say photography because I don't know, 90% of it ain't that creative.
You're right.
Sorry, but I'm not trying to be like negative, but
right.
Yeah, what I'm saying. I don't know how to say it right.
There's so many things to take into consideration when it comes to because the market is so saturated with different things, and just trying to separate yourself from others and doing things different. There's things, and that's part of why you're so successful is because you do things that nobody else does. Like when you look at an image, 95% of the time you can look at that image and say, that's a Matt Hicks photo. That's a Matt Hicks edit. And
even when I'm looking around, I can sit there, no usernames or nothing, just look at pictures, like, that's so-and-so. Yep. And that's so-and-so.
Yep.
And, that's so-and-so. Like you just,
yep.
Those guys, you just know those guys. Like, it's not just the norm.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the goal. That's always been my goal was, do something different. It's just like the calls and stuff that we do and the way we run Last Flight is, the call world is flooded. There's call companies and call makers of all different shapes and sizes that it is flooded. So you got to do whatever you can to be different.
Yeah.
And and that was my approach to photography too was, if you scroll Instagram and you're looking like what everybody else is looking like,
yep,
they're going to keep scrolling.
Yeah.
If they're scrolling and all of a sudden, boom, oh, that looks different. It's still a picture of a dog, but it looks different.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. They're going to recognize it, notice.
Yeah.
So.
And one of the other things too is if you're someone that's just, I want to say maybe a hobbyist or whatever it might be, that, you know, your goal, your ultimate goal is not to be on covers, or it's not to be in other social medias, and it's just something that you want to just, you enjoy taking the pictures and sharing the pictures. You know, that's one thing. If your goal is to get a, you know, a magazine cover, or, you know, like the rule book cover, or, you know, be paid for what you're doing, you have got to invest in yourself. You have to be prepared for long term, right? Because you're not going to, the chances of you going in and under, I'm gonna go out as far as a year of photography and then landing something is slim, right? It's you've got to establish yourself. Even if someone goes to, you know, even if you don't have like an actual a website with a portfolio on there, and all of your stuff goes to Instagram or Facebook, social media, and let's say you've got 50 images on there, right? At that point, you still haven't reached your dedication to producing content, right? Because you could produce one image every 2 weeks.
Yep.
And that's not going to get you where you want to be, like you at that rate.
Yep.
Now, if you invest in yourself and the time that you put into it, and you go out and say, okay, I'm going to make it a point to go out and take 10 pictures this week, right? And then and that's if you're planning on your subject and, you know, taking advantage of the opportunities. And then at that point, you know, to help build your social media, just to put things into perspective for you, Matt and I were looking at his Lightroom earlier today. Over 21,000 images sitting in his Lightroom right now. That's the difference between.
I just deleted like 3,000 or 4,000 like 2 weeks ago because it was full.
That's the difference between someone that understands, you know, what it takes. That's the difference between someone that has established himself in the industry, has multiple magazine covers. You know, he's got the logbook cover. He's got.
Well, that's one thing about the magazines is when they reach out to you and they say, "Hey, this is what I'm looking for. Do you got anything?" You might have to scroll back 3-4 years. It's like, wait a minute, I do got that. And that's why I have all these photos, because you never know when they're going to be used or needed. And because, you know, like DU will send out an email for each magazine, and it'll list like, we need these, you know, this is what's going on. We need these images. And, you know, do you have any, basically? And you send over what you got. And, you know, I've sent over, you know, 50 and they don't use any.
Yeah.
You know, and I've sent over, you know, 10 and they use a couple.
Right.
You know, it just kind of differs because that email is going out to a lot of different folks too.
Right, yep.
But I'm ready for anything. You know what I mean? And, you know, some of the stuff too that gets published, sometimes they just need somebody cleaning a bird.
Yeah.
So, like, don't be afraid to take pictures of the whole thing, everything. You know what I mean? You know, they might just need a guy, I don't even know, loading a shotgun or, you know, packing a bag.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just something stupid that you wouldn't, it doesn't sound sexy as a dog running with a duck in its mouth and the hair's flying. But those are still shots that can, you know, get your foot in the door and get published.
Yeah.
So, you know.
So let's roll right into this.
Yeah.
The iconic shots of Matthew Hicks.
So, yeah, I'm going to basically start with, I got 2 covers here. And then we'll talk about the DU, Delta, Gun Dog, and then we'll go over my favorites. And some of my favorites are just simply that, my favorite. And then, you know, one of them too is one that went viral on Instagram. Got like 34,000 likes out of nowhere. Don't know, because I don't know.
And that wasn't even a magazine deal.
No, it was just a random photo. I had no idea it was going to do that at all. And I don't know, that was crazy. But we'll go over. This is Ohio hunting and trapping regulations 22-23, and I actually got the fishing one that same year too.
Yes.
So I doubled up that year on the hunting and fishing. Don't have the fishing one with me, but
that one was a really cool picture because it was
a walleye. Yeah. I hate fishing, but we got invited up to go fishing, and you know, I just took my camera. I was just gonna take pictures. I'm not really into fishing. We're just trolling for walleye up on Erie, and you know, as somebody was reeling one back, it's got the bait in its mouth, and it's just at the surface of the water like this.
Yeah.
And I just got my big lens, my 200 to 600, and I mean, this thing is only 10 yards away, but that's at 600, able to just, just get right up on it, right?
Right.
And so like it was like, I don't know, it was really cool. The water was splashing, the bait was in its mouth, and yeah, that was pretty cool. But here's the hunting one, and so there's the photo. We can put it up on the screen too, maybe.
Yep.
And I'll just tell you the settings. And this one's pretty dumb. Nothing fancy on this one at all. We were driving. I was actually taken to Wisconsin, and we were there for. Let me think about this. Let me check the date. Oh, we were there for a hunting trip, and this is out of the Horicon Marsh in Wisconsin, and we're just driving down one of the dike roads, and next to the road is just deeper water, just a channel, and then there's cattails, and we're just driving in the truck, and I'm just taking pictures, and that's how this one happened. So nothing fancy, nothing special. It was just me clicking buttons. Mm-hmm. Don't be afraid to click the button. And anyhow, shutter was Shutter was at 1/1600, aperture at 5.6, ISO 500, and I was actually at 227 millimeter on that one. Yeah, I mean that was it. Nothing crazy, nothing special.
And that was with the R4, right, at that time?
No, I never had the R4.
R3.
This was with the Sony A7 R3, and again with my 200 to 600 Sony lens. And I was at 227 on it. Nothing special. We were just driving down the dike road, and these mallards were just flushing off. As we were driving by, they're freaking out. They're scared, so they're just flushing off that channel, and that's it. So you never know. You keep all that stuff because you never know when it's going to be needed.
Right.
Most of the time, they get out of the truck and get low, and you know what I mean.
Right.
This was an instance that I was just hitting the shutter button just cause, and it was able to be used.
Yeah.
So nothing crazy, nothing fancy, no crazy technique. With the cattails in the back, you can kind of get misfocused. If using autofocus, it might want to hit the cattails and not the ducks. Keep that in mind. But other than that, I mean, pretty simple.
I mean, how many miles have we put on our trucks with the camera in the passenger seat? Right. And
man, I haven't had my camera in the truck in like a year, but I used to. I mean, yeah, I used to it lived in there.
Yeah.
It didn't go anywhere. And it was never in the house, and it was never in the shop. It was never anywhere but in the truck.
And
because you never knew.
Right. 95% of the time, it never got moved, even in the truck.
Yep.
It's just that 5%, that opportunity, that element of surprise.
A lot of times you just
on a law book. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you just never know when you're going to come across something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nature. It's you're in the wild.
Yeah. Wow.
But we'll go over this one here. This is another one through a state of Ohio. This was a wild Ohio cover. Wood duck. This was taken in March during the spring migration, during that time of year. And that's my favorite time to take photos is during the spring migration. And usually the last week of February, honestly through April is really good around here. You can get a good cross section of all the species through that timeline as they're making their way back north. And that's when that one was taken. Honestly, that one was taken, let's see, I was at 600 millimeter with my Sony 200 to 600. Shutters at 1000, aperture 6.3, ISO 640. And that was taken with the A7 R3. And I'll be honest, I had to crop in on that one a lot. I honestly did not think it would work out. But the focus was nailed.
Right, yeah.
On the bird, so when I cropped in, it was still good. If it was just off, I mean, if it's off an inch,
right?
That's between good and bad. Your focal plane is just you're at 6.3 aperture, so you got some room to play there. But when you're on the water like that, it just seems your margin of error is real.
It focuses a lot on the water.
Yeah, you got to watch that too.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, and I know on this one specifically, I just did a small spot in the center, and I just put it right on the duck's head and pulled the trigger.
You pretty much have to if you're photographing ducks on the water, especially when you're getting low like we do, and for whatever reason, I think it's because the water's moving in front of the bird.
Water's moving, and you're taking a picture of something that's just like a dot in the screen.
Yeah.
So the camera, the autofocus system, just wants to hunt and find something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but if you put it on the single spot and say, here it is, you're good. This body does not have bird eye.
Yeah.
My new body, the A7R5, does, and it works really well. Although if you're in decoys, you're going to get screwed up because it's going to be...
Oh, yeah.
decoy eyes everywhere, and that autofocus is going crazy.
I remember the first time that you and I went out, maybe not been the first time, but it was pretty early on in my photography career, and we went to and we were photographing the green-winged teal, and they were swimming around, just off the bank there, and we had to walk through the woods kind of to get close to them. Yeah, and I was all about autofocus at that time, and I just always, when I thought of manual focus, I thought of video, right? I thought of something that I wanted to, when I thought about photography, especially wildlife and birds and things, it was always autofocus. And I remember struggling to maintain focus on the duck because I was in autofocus. Yeah. And you're nailing them. Mm-hmm. And I remember you looked back at me and the first thing you said was, learn manual focus. Yeah. And I'm like, shoot, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I mean, autofocus does not always work and save you. Especially, one situation that comes to mind is when you are taking a picture of a bird and you are, really maxing out your focal range there. Yeah. Say you're at 600 and really you could have probably you could have went up to 900 because it's so far away, and I know I'm going to have to crop in. Right. I would definitely switch that thing to manual focus and just nail the focus, knowing that when I crop in, it's going to be good. Yeah. And so that's one instance, to where, you're going to be good. Say you have a bird, say it's 40 yards out and you got cattails behind the bird and the bird's a foot off the cattails, and that focus hits the cattails in your camera, you're going to be like, this looks all right. Right. Once you pull it up on your computer, you're going to be like, well, those cattails look good. Right. Your bird's going to be just out of focus that it's just not, it's going to be trash. So, so we're going to move on now to, excuse me.
Boom.
The DU table of contents, shot I got that they picked up. This one, we're in the duck blind. We'll put it up on the screen here, but for those listening instead of watching, we're in the duck blind, and it's just me and Clyde. I got birds hanging there. This one is a staged shot. Those last two, obviously, were not. This one is a staged shot to where, I just want to, portray the hunt in a certain way. Got two Drake Mallards hanging there. I got my gun in my left hand, and I'm crouched down calling, and Clyde's sitting there with me, and the light's shining in through the front of the blind. Yeah. And, some of this stuff is for advertising, so you kind of got to make it look a certain way. Yeah. And with that, you've got to, stage the shot. And with this one, I'm using my R5, and I'm using my Sigma art lens, the 24-70, 2.8. I'm at 24 millimeter on this one. 640 shutter, 2.8 aperture, and 500 ISO. Nothing really as far as like settings go or anything too crazy. A lot of this one is editing. Maybe we can put up like the before and after.
Well, see, what I'm thinking about doing maybe is like, especially for those that that are listening. I think I'm going to create an Instagram post, and it'll have the cover of this episode, but then as you slide through, it'll show the images that we're talking about, and that way when they listen to this, they can go straight there.
Or just force them on the YouTube.
Or that too. Yeah.
Subscribe.
Go look at YouTube and we know what he's talking about.
Anyways. Yeah, on this one, we can go ahead and just show like before and after, because this is one, those other two weren't edited much at all just because it's just the natural environment. But this one being kind of more, I knew I was going to use it for an ad. So, you kind of got to make it look a certain way that's just going to grab your attention, right? So you go to my website.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But DU picked that one up. It's a really cool one. But yeah, that's kind of it on that one.
And I think that one there is going to show, the images that you see that are posted are, I can guarantee you it's not what it looks like when you look at it through the back of the camera. Like, it's just, there's so much, like we were talking about earlier, it's 50% of it is photography, 50% of it is art, right? So it's just like, obviously you have to get the,
Yeah, that doesn't look good.
Yeah. We'll put the before and the after up there, but when you go out and take these pictures, it's not like they come directly off of the camera and then into social media. Like, there's a lot of work that goes on behind it, because everybody has their own style too. So, if somebody goes out with, let's say an R5, and you go with an R5, your style of shooting is going to be different. You may have different settings because you have different things that you want your image, the different way you want your image to look like in the end.
Right.
But it is pretty neat to see the before and the after. So yeah, we'll throw the before and the after of that one up.
And sometimes editors want this in a certain way too, of like, you got to have that feel of the image. So it kind of has to be staged in a way, but staged in a way that still looks authentic.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can put yourself there, and that's what it would look like.
Yeah.
And so next we're going to move on to the Delta waterfowl cover. I had this image for probably 2 years before it got picked up. And honestly, this is actually one that won DU photo contest too. I forgot.
Really?
Yeah, I forgot about that. But that's another way you can kind of get your name out there too, is do these photo contests, especially DU. They got a good one, and then Sika Gear's got a good one. That can really get you in the door with some of these guys.
Yeah.
But anyways, and even if you don't win, like, there's so many good images that, you know what I mean? So
yeah. Yep.
This one, I just didn't think anything special of it. It's just another photo of a dog running back through the decoys with the bird in its mouth. I didn't really think it's a cool photo. I really didn't think it'd get picked up in the way that it did. It's definitely cover worthy and all that, but nothing that stood out that was like, they got to have this image.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyways, they're just looking for a dog, and a lot of times they're looking for breeds that they don't have a lot of.
Right.
So here's a Boykin. You don't see a lot of them on the magazine covers. It's always a lab.
Right.
Black or yellow lab most time, and that's those are still like they still love those, but they also like to get away from those from time to time to help draw more people into.
Right. Yeah.
Haven't really seen this. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So this photo here specifically, using the A7 R3 on this one, and I'm actually using a Tamron, my Tamron lens 70 to 180, and this is actually the first version of that lens. I ended up getting the G2 later on, but this is the first time this one come out, the first version. About 146 focal range, and then 1600 shutter, 2.8 aperture, 400 ISO. And really, I'm laying on the ground, and I'm probably, like I said, when was this? Let's see if there's a date on here. Yeah, 2022. This is 3 years ago, over 3 years ago. So, but I can imagine I was probably laying on my back and shooting through my feet. My feet are spread out and I'm shooting, and he's coming at me.
Yeah.
That Tamron's a good lens. Obviously landed, a cover shot here, and I now have the Sony 70 to 200 2.8. That's a $2,700 lens. This Tamron lens is like a $900 lens.
Yeah.
Or it might be like $1,100 new. I can't remember. Much cheaper and still getting the job done. And that kind of goes to a point that I like to make, is when you know your equipment, know how to use your equipment, you can get a lot more out of it than somebody that has the best stuff but don't know how to use it.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah, that's that one. Like I said, I'm laying down. I'm kind of, on a shot like this, I like to be eye level with the dog, or if it's a duck or somebody, eye level or below. Kind of brings out that perspective that people aren't used to seeing.
Yeah.
If I just stand up and take a picture of a dog looking down on it, everybody sees that every day looking at a dog. so it doesn't catch your eye, you know.
Yeah.
But when you take it in this way, eye level or below of the dog, you know, it's not every day we're on our hands and knees looking at our dog.
Right.
Like, oh, buddy, you know.
Yeah.
So it's catches their attention. So yeah, on that one too, you know, I don't get Delta emails every month or whatever for a magazine on what they want. On this one, they reached out to me on Instagram specifically and said we want to use this one. So yeah, one of those deals where, you know, you put out good stuff, they'll come knocking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and don't be afraid to tag them so that they can start like seeing like, okay, this guy keeps putting out consistently good stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and the next thing you know, boom, they're in your inbox saying, hey, I want this one.
Right. Yeah.
And, yeah. All right. Where are we at here?
Which is, I mean, I guess, you know, that one had been in your, you know, your arsenal, let's say, you know, for
A couple years.
a couple years, and you know, most people don't keep their images, so they post them to
Yeah.
social media and then they get rid of them.
And they delete them. But no, you know, if you want to, that's part of your portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
Like your, gosh, what's it called? When you just have like all this data. You know, this is like, this is like, I don't even, this is what helps create value for you as a photographer.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a database of 20,000 images,
Yeah.
that goes a long way versus if you only had 200 because you keep deleting them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Of course, delete your bad stuff that you know is out of focus or whatever.
Right.
Or your duplicates, but keep your stuff, you know, back it up, put on hard drives, whatever, because there'll be a day when somebody reaches out and says, hey, you know, you put out a lot of good stuff. I'm looking for this specifically. I haven't seen it. Do you have it?
Mm-hmm.
And you can say, you know what? 3 years ago, I had this hunt. I think I do have that.
Yeah.
And you can go back and do that. So yeah, don't delete them. Put them on a hard drive or something. I mean, you can get an SSD for $150.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to put, I don't even know, 100,000 images on it. You'll never, you know what I mean? It's well worth the money to just
Yeah.
back it up.
Yeah, we use one of these little guys for the show.
It's a 4 terabyte SanDisk SSD. We got
Yeah.
2 of those, and I
Yeah.
like them. They're
Yeah.
pretty handy.
Yep.
And I utilize the Lightroom cloud storage. You get 2 terabytes on there, and that's where these 21,000 they're backed up onto there.
Yeah.
That's what I do for that.
Yeah.
Next, we're going to move on to the Gun Dog cover. I think I got this one last summer, about a year ago, and I sat on this one for a year before they used it. And honestly, it wasn't long after I posted it that year, because they'll contact me. I can see so I'll have another Gun Dog cover coming out this winter, you know, winter 2025.
Yeah.
That they purchased with this one, summer of last year. So like the one that comes out this winter, they'll be sitting on it for 2 years before they use it.
Right.
But anyways, this one here, I don't know. It's a really cool shot. It's definitely one of my favorite because it's just like dog is just like locked in on me. It's just perfect. And basically we're training. It's, you know, I don't remember what the magazine about, but it's summer. So you can imagine about dog training of some sort. Mm-hmm. And basically we just got a Boykin here and the bumper was thrown over my head behind me. We usually throw it over my head behind me or just like right in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And then they'll send the dog and they're coming right at me, right? And I am in the water and I can't remember how deep it was, but I'm out in the water taking this shot with the 200 to 600. Lied. I'm with my Tamron 70 to 180, 2.8. I have been in the water before, literally up to my neck with the 200 to 600, taking shots like this.
We went on a shoot with, remember when we went and photographed Bailey?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and you were out in the water with this big telescope on the end of your camera, and it's just like sitting like this far off the top of the water.
I mean, you hit a soft spot in the mud and you start sinking.
and you're screwed. Like, bye bye.
I'm going to be underwater with the camera like this. You know what I mean? But,
the sacrifices.
hey, that's what you got to do, man.
So yeah,
So this one, I'm out in the water and I'm using my Tamron. Again, Tamron gets the cover shot. And let's see here. What are my settings? ISO 320. I'm at 153 millimeter, 2.8 shutter at 2500 on that. Really nothing special about getting the shot other than setting the shot up. On this one is about setting the shot up. And I mean, mind you, I forget how many photos that day. I had like 2,000 photos that day. And here, we got one good one.
Right, yeah.
We got other good ones, but like, this one landed out of 2,000. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's just setting up the shot and keep going and going and going. On this particular day, we had 8 or 9 different dogs.
Yeah.
So we got to be able to do this for a few hours without wearing the dog out. You know what I mean? Just taking turns. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You throw it 20 times, you get the other dog out.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, just setting the shot up. Trainer's holding the dog back and it's jumping off the bank. You throw the bumper and it's right in front of me. And as soon as you release the dog, I mean, I'm just the whole time,
Yeah.
hoping the lens follows that. Hopefully the autofocus catches up with that dog coming at you.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, that's just it. Yeah, my advice with anybody on this one would just keep clicking the button.
Right.
Again, I'm at eye level or a little below. On something like this, I like to hold my camera on the water. I actually put my hand on the bottom of the camera, so when my knuckles touch the water, I know I'm good.
Yeah.
I know my camera's not in the water; it's my hand. It kind of gives you that, give you that awareness of where you're at with your camera, and have my screen out. On this one, I'm trying to remember. I believe I ran a monitor on this one too, to where I knew I was going to be down like this, so I had that monitor up on top and I could see it. And on this day specifically, it was so bright and sunny.
Oh, yeah. It's hard to see a monitor or any screen when it sun's out like that.
That's why I took that big monitor, because
I
was low enough to where, I mean, I would have to be underwater to be able to get my eye in the viewfinder. Like,
right.
You can't do it. So that's why I got that big monitor on it for this day. And that's that shot there.
So I just came up with a great idea for this summer, or anytime in general. But we talk about these photos of, one of the topics was the element of surprise or a planned opportunity. Obviously, like the wood duck cover, or the Ohio logbook cover, those are element of surprise, right? Like there's nothing you can plan. You can't put a wild animal, a wild bird in a place that you want it to go. But the planned opportunities is more like, the dog training photos, or, the hunts in the blind, the pictures of the dogs in the blind, or, stuff like that. What I want to do
I got 2 more yet here.
Yeah. What I want to do this year is I want to film some of those behind the scenes of those kind of planned opportunity shots, something that shows what goes into getting that image, right? So there's so much that goes on, and I think that would be really cool for us to use as, we'll throw them up as reels, or TikTok videos, or whatever, reels or shorts on YouTube or whatever. But I think that would be really cool. We'll do that this year for sure.
Yeah, we need to do that.
Yeah. All right, moving on. What you got next?
Next is the Instagram viral one. And,
Instagram viral.
I mean, I've never had a photo do what this one did. It got like 34,000 likes, and it went crazy for a couple weeks. I don't really know what sparked it or what. I don't know how all that works.
You had to just post it at the right time.
But I mean, it just was in the algorithm, I guess. You know what I mean? In the waves.
In the waves.
So, again, this one's just kind of, it's not a staged one, just candid. Bailey's bringing this goose back through the decoys here. And I got my Sony A7 R3. I got the Tamron 70 to 180 2.8. Mm-hmm. And I start to see a theme. You don't need the most expensive lens.
Yes, most of these are the Tamron.
And I'm at 111 millimeter. And as you know, all these shots have been over 100. And kind of my favorite range is 180 or 200. Like, I love that. Makes your foreground
Well,
and
it's so
background so
compressed,
creamy.
you know.
Such a compressed, like,
Yeah.
it's just not something you're used to seeing, I guess.
It's equivalent. So when you photograph, like if you have and it doesn't matter if it's a 2.8 or 5.6 or whatever it might be. Like if you have a telephoto lens and it's 70 to, let's take a 70 to 200, for example, or even like a 70 200 to 600, when you're all the way zoomed out and you're at let's say on a 70 to 200, if you're at that 180 to 200 range, your image is going to kind of look more like an image that was taken with a prime lens because of the compression, right? So if you take if it's a wider angle picture, so if you took the same picture at, let's say 150 millimeters on a 70 to 200, then your background's not going to be as creamy. It's going to be blurry, but it's just not going to be as creamy. You're going to it's going to show more in the image. But if you're zoomed all the way in and you can get your subject in the entire frame, zoomed all the way in, it's going to look more like a prime lens, and it's easier to do on a 2.8 because you're not losing that light. On a 200 to 600 is what, 5.6. That's what yours. 5.6
to 6.3, I believe it is.
6.3. So like
6.3 at 600.
Yeah.
So
like my Nikon 200 to 500 it's a 5.6 from 200 to 500. Like the whole thing's 5.6. So even when you zoom all the way out on that, you have to take your lighting into consideration. What'd you do? You all right over there? Yeah.
Oh.
Are you good?
Just got this like indigestion. Just burping.
Oh boy. But anyway, so when you have to watch your lighting and like on a 2.8, it's not a big deal. You still have plenty of light to come in. You're still going to have nice compress, and that's why that Tamron does such a great job. But it's just something to keep in mind. But it is, if I have the opportunity to, and it sounds crazy, but if I'm photographing something that's only 20 feet from me, but I have the opportunity to go way back, and then that way I can purposely zoom in to make it more creamy, have that compressed photo. Your subject just seems to stand out more from the background like a prime lens would be. But anyway, go ahead.
Shutter on this one, 1600, aperture 2.8, ISO 800. So, good rule of thumb for me on, dogs or anything moving in your decoys, or even birds or whatever. I don't like to go below 1600. And I don't like my ISO above 1000.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of play with that. I think for me, I would rather suffer a little bit on the motion blur side versus ISO as far as grain.
Yeah.
And there's also just a point where you don't have enough light and it's just not going to work.
And the dynamic range of the camera makes a big difference on what you can do too.
And yeah, that's a huge, huge deal. Man, I've taken photos before where like you get them back and it's like the whole thing's black. I'm just like, what? And then like you start editing it, you brighten it up, and it's just like, how in the world are these colors there? How did it get those colors? When it was just dark. I don't know. I don't know how it does it, but that makes a huge, huge deal on that stuff.
Yeah.
Especially low light situation.
And shooting RAW. RAW makes a big difference too.
Yep.
Versus shooting JPEG.
Yep. I like that. I like that a lot. Go to the next one here.
That's probably one of my favorite pictures you've ever taken.
Yeah. Every time I put this one up, it gets 3,000 to 5,000 likes.
Yeah, it's probably.
I put it up a couple times and was like, hey, it's working. He doesn't wait. I'll post it up today.
Yeah.
But
we'll use it as the show cover.
Good. This one here is Bailey in her dog blind. Just got done. Oh man, this was one of those days where just field mallards, man, and they just ate it up and shot I think it was a 4 or 5 man limit. There was a 5-man limit that day. But anyways, she's in her dog hut there with the corn all over it, camoed up, and we took out all the hens, of course, and put all the green heads on her blind.
Right.
And took the picture, and she's all perked up and looking. You want to get your dog perked up and looking like that, just throw a corn stalk. It's that simple. You know what I mean? Just do that. Like, it's just the little things like that just make a big difference. And nothing fancy on this as far as camera settings or anything. Again, I'm at 112 millimeter. I'm over that 100 mark to get that creaminess going. Tamron 70 to 180. I'm at 2.8. Shutter at 800. ISO 250. Of course, you don't have to worry about anything motion blur here. So on a photo like this, you know, you could set that ISO at 100 and just lower your shutter until it looks right.
Right. Yep.
And pull the trigger.
Yep.
And Sony A7R3 on this one as well. Yeah, a lot of my favorite ones were, you know, with my old camera. I need to get rid of that new one. No, honestly, I just don't.
You don't do as much as you used to. Like
no, it's just I'm just busier.
Yeah.
You know, between business, kids, family, you know, just the stuff that should be a priority.
Right.
Is more busy with that stuff than being able to do the photos and go hunting as much as I want.
Yeah.
And I mean, I still take plenty of photos, but definitely different. You know, when I first was starting out, you know, I could go sit at the marsh for 8 hours a day.
Right.
And which at the time I thought it was great. Come find out, my wife didn't like that very much. Wasn't home and hunting every other day and all that.
Yeah.
Not good. But I did learn a lot, and you know, paying for that now. But no. But yeah, just different priorities nowadays, I guess.
Yeah.
You get older, you get wiser.
Yeah. But even now, you know, you don't get the opportunities to go out and hunt as much as you used to. But you would still rather, if you had the choice, take a gun or a camera. You're taking a camera.
Yeah. I mean, I've, you know, like I've said before, I've been hunting since I was 7. I'm 31, so I've pulled the trigger enough. Mm-hmm. I've ate enough goose and stuff that I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I'm not dying to go have a goose breast. You know what I mean? Though,
yeah.
You guys shoot them and take them.
Right.
You know, I'm gonna take pictures,
right?
Videos.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and the other part of the photos and stuff for me too is I get to take it back and share it with everybody. Mm-hmm. And
for a long time,
and in hopes, or you know, might spark something up in somebody to be like, I want to do that. I want to try that. That looks like a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know how many times, you know, we go out and shoot one bird on a creek and you're just going to go. There's just not much action around, you know, migration. Maybe it hasn't happened yet, whatever. You know, it's just super slow. You know, so you're just going out to the creek, you shoot a greenhead, and you start taking some pictures and you put them up, and people are like, I want to come hunt with you. I want to come hunt with you. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, you don't. It ain't worth the one duck. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
You know, so people kind of get a false sense of what's going on by looking at the pictures. But we just make it look fun and cool. You know what I mean? And hopefully, I mean, it does. It sparks something in some people to where they want to go duck hunting. Like, I want to try that. That looks like freaking cool stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I am a victim of seeing a Matt Hicks picture and saying, I want to do that. Yeah. It wasn't that, you know, I picked up a camera before all of that, right? When I picked up a camera, it was to photograph my upland dog. Had a pointing lab, still have him. I speak of him like he's passed away.
Goodness, got rid of him.
No, sir. But I have a pointing lab, and you know, at the time, it wasn't really a big on the preserve that I guided at. It wasn't a thing at all. Like, and people ask what kind of dog you've got, and I said a lab, and they say, well, then when you keep him pretty close, that way when he flushes, the birds are close, and that's when I go into explaining that he's a pointing lab, and people are like, "What are you talking about? Like, there's no such thing."
What's that?
So I started photographing him, you know, with my phone, which obviously did not give me the results that I wanted. So then I picked up a camera shortly after that, you know, after taking some pictures and kind of starting to understand things, not as much as, you know, I do now, obviously, but That's when I started seeing some of the pictures, that Matt posted and things, and not knowing at that time, realistically, the camera that you were using at that time wasn't much better than the camera that I had.
No.
Because you had the D3400.
D30.
3500.
32 or 34. I can't remember.
So I had the D3200. I think you had the D34.
Yeah, it's
3400.
Probably so.
And his images were just so much better than mine. But he had also learned and used his settings properly, and so that was one of the things. When I reached out to you, you had just switched over to Sony. I think that's when you picked up the R3, because you shot with the R3 for a long time.
Yeah. I shot with the R3 for 3 years probably.
Yeah. You went from the D3400 to the Sony, right?
Yeah.
Straight to the R3?
Yep, because I was using the D3400, and I felt like I learned it, knew it, but I just couldn't get the images that I wanted. Mm-hmm. And talking with Eric, my cousin, he does photography too. I'm like, what do you think is, what can I be doing better? And he's like, man, it's probably just, your camera's probably just limited, like maxed out for what it can do.
Right.
We're not taking portrait shots.
Right.
It'd be just fine for that.
Right. I shoot with a Nikon Z5, and and Matt is still on you need to switch to Sony.
I'm not going Nikon after that 3400. First impression, not good. But anyways,
That's a $300 camera.
yeah, I know. But then, so how I got the R3, Brock had the R7. I was playing around with it, or the R7.
R7, good night.
The 73, I was playing around with that. And then it was like around Christmas that same year, the R3 went on sale for like $2,000. I said, all right, this is it. So I bought that and that big lens. Mm-hmm. And that's what started my path onto getting better stuff.
Yeah.
So, and I ran that for 3 years, and nothing wrong with that camera. I just wanted to get something. I wanted to get something better, newer.
Right.
Because I have had it for 3 years, and in 3 years, technology changes a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
So I jumped up to the R5, which at the time was the second newest camera by Sony. I think the A1 was the newest. Mm-hmm. But the R5 is still a workhorse. Mm-hmm. 61 or 62 megapixel camera. I like megapixels. Some people would rather have shutter speed over megapixels. I don't know. I'd rather have megapixels.
Yeah.
I want to be able to crop in and do what I want to do.
Right. Yep.
Even if I missed a few frames.
It really depends on your style of shooting too.
Yeah.
It depends on what you plan on your subject being. You know what I mean? So
yeah. If you're always taking pictures of cars going around a racetrack, then get the A9,
mm-hmm.
20 frames per second. You can just let her rip. But for what I'm doing, even the wildlife stuff. A duck launching off the water or landing, 20 frames per second's nice. Mm-hmm. But so many times I need to get closer. I need to crop in on that bird to get the composition I want, to where I want the megapixels instead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's it.
That's it.
That's all I got. And we'll put these photos up as well. So if you're listening to this and you want to actually see the photos we're talking about, get on the YouTube. Mm-hmm. We're making you got to go to YouTube. You got to subscribe, support this thing. Yeah. So get on the YouTube and watch it. Even if you just scroll, fast forward through it until you get to the photo part, whatever. But it's going to be really cool to be able to see what we're talking about in real time.
Right.
So.
Yep. For sure. But I think that's going to pretty much wrap everything up.
We went.
What's your favorite picture?
Man, I don't know.
Well, out of the images that we talked about today, then which one is your favorite?
You want to know my favorite?
Yeah.
I guess we can put it up on the screen.
Yeah.
But probably my wife in the sunflower patch when she's holding Maverick's hand and she's pregnant with Annie.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep, I know exactly which one you're talking about. Yep.
That's probably my favorite. Not to be all cliche, but
yeah.
as far as what's important, and mean, it's a really good photo. Just the lighting.
It is, yeah.
The lighting and the sunflowers and just kind of the, I don't know, the story within the photo.
Yeah. Well, then
you know what I mean?
The subject
just,
too, right? Like,
right. That's what I'm saying.
Your
it's
wife
just,
and kids, you
right.
know.
And yeah, that's probably my favorite.
Yeah.
We can put that up too.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right. All right, everybody. That's going to wrap up this episode. We appreciate you guys tuning in to each episode. The more that the more subscribers that we get on the channel, the more followers we get for the show, the better this thing's going to get. We're continuously working to improve and make the show better. With everything going on around the shop, there's a lot of time invested in a lot of things around here. And this show is just another thing that, we're investing time and money and resources in to make it, better, each time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it really helps us out a lot when you guys subscribe and
support
share this thing,
share it with your friends, do everything. We really appreciate it. I think it's going really well for it being the end of May and nobody's really interested in waterfowl right now.
Yeah.
I'm excited. We started this thing back in February after season, so I'm excited to see what this does during waterfowl season.
Yeah. And you may see throughout the episodes, we probably won't make it known, but you might see throughout the episodes where some things are changing, as we're upgrading some stuff and doing different things that we feel like, that would benefit us more. Like I said,
we might get some new seats.
Yeah.
Get some new studio seats or something. Jake really wants a new seat. Well, you ain't worked here long.
All right.
But, yep.
Yep, that's going to wrap it up for this one. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we will see you on the next one.
See ya. Jinx.